It is most definitely warmer today, you guys. I like how the countdown has turned into like catch up on the weather time, but it was so warm today. It was definitely a vacation start that most people would like. However, I am putting in some serious hope that it is going to get blustery and windy and lovely and beautiful and rainy and gray and everything over the next 8 days. But I suppose we'll see. Hey guys, it's Heather the Crochet Witch. How are you guys doing today? Today being October 23rd, so it is Vlogtober day 23, Sunday. Happy Sunday. I hope your weekend has been really great. Mine is turning out wonderful, but that's only because now I'm on vacation. Officially on vacation. So it's like time to relax, time to get cozy, time to get spooky, time to enjoy the season completely as it was meant to be enjoyed. But yeah, so today is also day 5 of the 13 days of Halloween, meaning 8 more days left. Oh, so excited. Like, I'm excited to begin this portion though. I want to stretch it out and make it last as long as possible. Yeah. It's like, I don't know where I was going with that. But anyway, I'm still going to try to make this a fairly quick video, like the best that I can. So we're going to jump right into opening up one of the monster quarter machine type prizes that I have to open up and just see what we got. The monster, this is my last one of the Universal Monsters that I had started with. And we got, oh yes! I had forgotten that there was not a patch yet from them. So this is the Creature from the Black Lagoon patch. Oh, I love the Creature from the Black Lagoon. Frankenstein and the Bride of Frankenstein are my favorites. And I mean, I will always love Dracula and the Wolfman, I guess, too. But I love the Creature from the Black Lagoon. I have always loved him. I'm super excited. I think that's the patch from all of the different types now, too. So, there was the opening of the prize ball. And then, what should we do next, guys? Seems like there's so many things to do. Let's do Courtney's gift. Which, by the way, this reminds me, we will get to it, but this reminds me that I was going to say we'll get to it now because some of you guys have came over from Courtney's channel and you're interested in the gift exchange between the two of us, which we're doing as part of the 13 days of Halloween, where we send each other 13 gifts to open. I'm super happy that she's been liking her gifts. I have been loving mine. And I wanted to show off again, if you're around my channel, if you've been around for very long, you know how much I'm in love with Stranger Things. So for all of hers, not only they're in this really, I can't even talk tonight. They're in this really pretty paper, but she found the Stranger Things stickers that most of them, yesterday's was day 4, so it was Stranger Things 4 logo, for season 4. But most of them are the faceless characters, and she's been writing the days in the faces. I just think that's so clever. I really wish that I had thought of that, but I digress. I'm pretty sure, I haven't seen this one specifically, but I'm pretty sure this would be Nancy. Yes? It doesn't have red hair like Max, and it doesn't look like any version of Elle. I think this is Nancy. Am I wrong? But anyway, and also, which that reminds me also, and I'm sure and it's in part thanks to Courtney and all of you lovelies who have came over, but I reached my 3,000, you guys. I reached my 3,000 subscribers. I'm so happy and excited, and at the same time, I don't know if flabbergasted is the right word, but definitely overwhelmed emotionally that 3,000 people cared enough to click the subscribe button. That means so much. I know a lot of people are I don't want to, like, lurkers, or, you know, like, there's, like, my crew that I know are always, like, commenting, and, like, that's getting bigger too, though. Oh, I'm just really thankful, and I just wanted to say thank you to you guys who have come over and who have found me and who find me entertaining enough to spend time with. I just thank you so much. And, like, Damon was like, now get your 10,000. That's a ways away, but here's looking forward, right? Anyway, thank you to those of you guys who have congratulated me, by the way. I'm so excited. It happened like while I was asleep today, and then I had to like hurry up and get to work, and there's going to be celebrations had. Don't worry, it's coming. But back to Courtney's present today, which I'm so excited about. I think in my excitement I tore a little bit of it. My bad, it wasn't tore before. So I see peeking out to begin with this cute little kitty hat in a witch's hat. Kitty head in a witch's hat. Those are, my words are absolutely failing me. Yum. I'm assuming this is chocolate. Yep, chocolatey skulls is what the back says. That is so cute. Oh, the front says it too. If I had bothered to look at any, I was too excited about the cat hat. The cat head in a witch's hat. The cat witch? I was way too excited about the cat witch to notice what it said at the top. But the packaging is so stinking cute, is it not? I love it. Chocolatey skulls. 3 pieces are 150 calories. I mean, counting in the calories for the day, that's not, it's chocolate. So, I mean, it's worth it. I do like me some chocolate, I'm not gonna lie. I'm happy that I don't eat a ton of it though. Like, I do like it, I like to taste it, but I'm not like, oh, I have to have chocolate all the time, you know. Like, everybody kind of jokes about it, but I'm happy I'm not super needy of it. My only real addiction is, besides like yarn and Stranger Things, my only real like consumption addiction is Diet Pepsi. So I'm pretty happy about that. Like, I have things I would not want to live without, but the only thing I feel like I just can't live without is Diet Pepsi. But anyway, aren't these cute? Look at the little skull faces on them. I love them. Thank you, Courtney. Getting my spooky treats in. She had gotten me Halloween pasta a few days ago, and me and Damon were just making the plans to cook that up this week also. Okay, so there was that portion of tonight's vlog. See, I'm moving fairly right along, right? The next thing that I have for you guys is in my L notebook here. My it's not Vlogtober or really one of my videos without some Stranger Things mention and some Stranger Things to do stuff, right? So this is 31 not conspiracy theories, but just theories, predictions, things like that for season 5, or just theories explaining things from 1 through 4, seasons 1 through 4. But some of them are mine. A lot of them are from the internet already, but there is just like rumors running rampant about this and that and everything. So I wrote them down. I have picked one a day so far and then marked them off so we don't repeat. And I thought I would talk about it, give you my viewpoint or stance on it, and then I ask that you guys tell me what you think. Like, you don't have to agree with me or anything like that, but just what do you think about the theory, or like, do you have ideas to like further it, or depending on what it is, you know? But I love reading all of you guys' Stranger Things talks. Like I said yesterday, I don't have, like, Damon will watch it with me and David will watch it with me, but I don't have in my physical life here anybody to really like nerd out with about it. Like, Seth does like it, but definitely not to the extreme that I don't feel like anybody that I know likes it to the extreme that I do anymore. But I had like one friend that did, but we don't really talk anymore. Not related to Stranger Things, but We didn't like get into some fight over Stranger Things or anything like that. But I digress again. That's like my this month has been my statement in and out of videos. I digress. I'm way sidetracked. So we're going to pick one and we're going to talk about it. All right, this one will be pretty short also. But for this theory, the theory is Will is going to be a vessel for Vecna and have to fight Elle. It's kind of a two-parter. Mark that off. Okay, marked off. Check mark. So I think I know that this has come up because in season 1 he was taken. Will was taken by the Demogorgon. That's another theory, so I'm just gonna leave assumed Demogorgon. And it's a theory we haven't touched on yet, so I'm really trying to dance around that. But anyway, he was taken regardless of by whom, and obviously like kind of imprisoned or hiding away in the Upside Down. And then in season 2, he was, because at the end of season 1, if you remember, Hopper had to save him from the vine that was already like in his throat. In season 2, he had previously at the very end of season 1 coughed up like a first larva stage of a Demogorgon, kind of like it was a little slug thing. And so he was still attached in some way or another to the Upside Down. And then you find out in season 2 that the Mind Flayer was trying to like basically get his smoky little claws on Will and finally succeeded. I know Bob meant well, but it was because of Bob. I'm just going to put that out there. But so then he was taken. He was sort of acting as a spy for the Mind Flayer because the Mind Flayer was taking his information and seeing through his eyes and everything. So he was a spy for the Mind Flayer essentially. And then in season 3, he didn't have the biggest part in season 3 because Billy kind of became the star of it, right? Which is, I mean, like at that point in time, I was kind of like, oh, good, give poor Will a break. Like I didn't want to see Billy hurt, but give poor Will a break, right? And then in season 4, he had a really rough time of more like real life struggles because Joyce had removed him from Hawkins. So he's been away from all that. Well, at the very end of season 4, he got like the neck tingle back, which is his spidey sense type of, I can tell, you know, that the Mind Flayer also now we know is Vecna, because the two are joined. I can tell that they're around. So he knew like that Vecna wasn't dead, that Vecna was coming for them, that Vecna was like getting ready to man this big war against them. So things weren't going to be like roses and sunshine. So I think that in season 5, it probably will be Will's time to shine again. Unfortunately, I think that the theory may be right because, like, yes, Will is aware of the connection now, and in theory, he could fight it. But at the same time, I don't know. I think it's so hard for him to because he's already been a part of this like hive mind before, right? It's already kind of like, I don't want to say ingrained in him, but in a way it kind of is. Like there's the same feelings recurring, and so those same feelings are going to bring up the same memories, and just kind of, I don't know, it is kind of ingrained in him at this point, I think. I'm not saying that Vecna's going to come back and immediately Will is going to be like a sock puppet and, you know, and Vecna's going to immediately take control. Like it might be some kind of battle. It might be like the battle for Will Byers. That's awful. I just want Will to be happy and have like a normal life that I feel so bad for him. But I kind of do think that he's, because Vecna at the end of season 4, physically, he's in a bad way, right? He got Molotov cocktailed from Steve and Robin. Nancy shot him up. He got thrown out of a window. And then mentally, he got pretty much broken by Elle, like not fully, because obviously he's still around somewhere. This is the stage where I kind of feel like, for those of you who have seen Harry Potter or read the books, because it's in both, I feel like he's in this odd physical state where he's not really physical. He's more like just some mist just existing. Because when we see Voldemort like having to like feed off of unicorns to start getting corporeal again or whatever, I feel like that's kind of like Vecna's laying low and he's just looking for something. He's looking for something to feed off of. What if it's Will? Sorry, I got really loud and sorry. But what if it is? What if it's not that he's trying to take him over? What if he's going to try to like use Will to sustain him? Like, oh, I hope not. I hope. Okay, that thought is just gone. I don't even want. I don't want to think about that. I would rather Will was taken. Now I'm more for this than ever. I would rather Will was taken kind of like hostage and the shell of Vecna and his puppet rather than Vecna needing to like consume him. Let's just not go there with that one. If he does get used by Vecna as a vessel, there's a lot of Elle is Vecna's opposite kind of stuff. Like I talked about it last night when I had another like brain epiphany about the whole like Lord of the Rings comparison and, you know, the similarities and everything. And I'm still really stuck on this. Well, now Will is a unicorn. Oh no. Oh, it makes me so sad. I'm going to try hard not to be though. No more. But since Elle and Vecna are like the Sith and the Jedi, or, you know, however you want to look at it, well, the Jedi and the Sith, I guess it would be, you know, respectively. But I do think that if Will is essentially like a Vecnaite, he's going to end up fighting, and with his like newly formed Vecna powers, I think he's going to end up fighting 11. I hope. I'm a big hopeful person when it comes to the theories like we talked about, I think it was yesterday also, about like Max fighting from the inside, like inside of Vecna. And I'm also a very big fan because I need more Eddie, much like a lot of you. I need more Eddie Munson. So the thought of him, when we talked about fan theory that Eddie could become like the Cass character and turn on Vecna when Vecna starts to trust him, it could be like all of those things happening, right? Because even to kill Vecna, kill him the first time, it took, you know, Steve and Nancy and Robin and everybody fighting him while he was being distracted by Dustin and Eddie. I almost said Lucas. And Lucas and his sister and Max, right? So, and Hopper and Joyce and Murray attacking the Demogorgon, who stretched out the hive mind, right? So you were getting, they weren't connected, and then once the Mind Flayer was freed and was connected to the Demogorgons and the Demodogs, that extra pain from them like getting flamed and murdered and all that is going to affect Vecna also, right? Vecna and the Mind Flayer. So it kind of took all of that together just to defeat him the first time around in season 4. Because I can't really say killed because he's currently like an evil mist waiting to feed on unicorns. That better not be Will. but maybe this time around, it, you know, to actually form a plan, like now they've gone against him, they know like what's being necessary, what is necessary, I guess, is good, you know, to kill him. And they know that he's planning something back. So maybe they can take all of that to their advantage and know that there has to be like a multi-layer attack, right? So it could be all of the above. It could take Eddie betraying him and fighting him from the sidelines, from his own sidelines, and Max inside his head, you know, fighting back against him, and Elle and her powers taking him on in the, not in the upside down, but kind of like in the mind. It could take the physical, like maybe they have to find whatever body he's in, whether it's Will's or somebody else's. It could be all of that, right? Like together. There's so much bad that's gonna happen. I'm so scared. I'm gonna be so scared for the next like year or two or however long it takes. Like, okay, guys, I'm gonna leave the theory-ness at that, but please tell me what you think about anything I just said. Like, please tell me, please comfort me and tell me that you don't think he's going to have to like feed off of Will in any way. I would so much rather that poor boy was possessed than that. Oh, that's awful. Okay, we're done talking about that awful monstrosity of an idea. Just gone. Take it and go. Okay, done with that. Heather's done freaking out. Anyway, so the next thing that I have, let's just transcend. Let's just segue to the next thing that we talk about, which is Stranger Things related also. It is my advent calendar. So here's your yarny goodness for this Vlogtober. Where did Vlogust come from? For this vlog time, this Vlogtober, this spooky vlog. I have been opening one a day for the 13 days of Halloween. And I'm going to put this up again because this was yesterday's yarn, guys. And I haven't slept much and I've been at work and today's been a crazy emotional day. But I still haven't thought of anything for the inspiration / colorway for this. So, and I know a lot of you guys weren't sure either. If anybody has an idea, I am open for ideas because I am trying to, since the creator of this calendar has already, we talked and she said that she's not like naming names on the yarn and she's not releasing like her inspiration either. And that doesn't make me not like the yarn. It doesn't make me not like the creator. This isn't a complaint, but my mind does not work that way. I need to name these things. So we've come up with names for the other ones pretty much, but that one is still up in the air a lot. So if you have anything for yesterday's yarn, please tell me. But we're going to get past that and open today's yarn, which is day 5. I don't know why I just started to shake it. Do you think it's yarn? I'm losing my mind, guys. I know, I'm also trying to, like I said, hurry because like I'm still like this is not going away. It's mostly a head cold now. When it seems like colds get worse in the evenings, like even if I'm awake in the evening time, it just seems like that's when it gets worse. So like the end of my work shift and then once I get home, I just start getting super congested-y and my lungs kind of hurt, like just not like anything's going on bad, but I'm just saying it's that congestion, like, it's not going away, and it needs to, because this is my vacation, darn it. Anyway. And I know Damon wants to make dinner and everything, too, so there is a preview of the yarn. Hopefully you got a good look in there. And, ooh, look at this, guys. I love that. I love it. Okay, I am going to say right now, because, okay, can you see the beautiful, like, burgundy streaks that are going on? Can you see the grays that are going on? And it's all a bit streaky. There's a little bit of spots here in the burgundy where it's, oh, this is gorgeous. This is gorgeous. Oh, I don't know. I don't know why I'm doing stuff. Like, I'm being so weird tonight, but oh, I love this. It is on a DK weight yarn, by the way, if I hadn't mentioned that to you guys. It's DK weight. I believe it's Superwash Merino. And her link is down below because she does a lot of very beautiful yarns also. And she's doing a lot of like clubs, monthly clubs. Like for those of you that love Outlander, she's doing an Outlander one. I saw that for sure. She's doing calendars already for next year. She's still selling advents for this year. She's got a lot going on. You guys should definitely go check her out, and she's linked below. But this color, I am going to say right now, I feel like it is Demogorgon. It's gotta be, right? It's gotta be. The Demogorgon is, this is like the petally mouth and the blood and carnage that comes with him. There's his skin coloring here that's like a dismal gray color with like kind of a white splotch to it. This color has got to be the Demogorgon. It's got to be. It's got to be for me too. I think it has to be. But yeah, so that is day 5's yarn. The only other thing, and I've already been obsessed with the idea that the first yarn from day 1 is Hawkins Lab. But this one very well could also be the Massacre at Hawkins Lab because of the blood and carnage and like the gray and white walls and the gray of Papa's suit. And the silver fox hair of Papa also, right? So I don't really think he's, like, I would not describe him as a silver fox. I don't think he's particularly, I don't think he's an ugly man, but I don't think that Hawkins Heather would go for Brenner. Let me just say that. I think she'd be way too obsessed with Stephen Hopper. But one last look at that. Oh gosh, that is so pretty. I really love this one, you guys. I love it so much. My vote is Demogorgon. Do you guys have a different idea, or do you agree or disagree with that? Like I said, it could be like the Massacre at Hawkins Lab. I suppose there are probably other things it could be too. Oh, it could be the death of Papa. I don't think I like that one, but it's a possibility because, you know, gray suit, white hair, very smartly dressed right to the end, Brenner was. And then the blood. I don't love that one. If you guys vote that one to the top, I'm going to be very sad, but I will accept. But yeah, so anyway, that is day 5 of my advent calendar. So the last thing that I have, and I'm going to stop real quick and come back so my voice is not out of whack. Okay, the last thing that I have, sorry, is creepy story time. And I will try to make this pretty quick. I think this one will be pretty quick. But it is another true crime horror type situation. And I hadn't like grown up knowing about this, but the information was there. This happened in like the 17 and 1800s, like right when they transitioned from the 17 to 1800s, basically, was when this person lived. And I guess it happened in the 1800s technically, but they were alive in the 1700s. But so I may not have grown up like hearing about it and knowing about it, but like I found out about this maybe like, I don't know, 5 or 10 years ago, somewhere in that range. And it's like, it's horrible. It's horrific. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying what I'm about to say is it's fascinating. It is fascinating, but it's one of those things that like where you can really like learn from history's mistakes kind of thing. It's tragic and awful. It's awful. So we're just going to jump right into it. But today we are talking about Madame LaLaurie. Have you guys heard of her? Let me ask that from the start. Have you heard of her? And when I'm done, you can tell me also like if you already knew this information, but Madame LaLaurie. So this woman was born on March 19th of 1787. She was born to a prominent family of New Orleans, so she was already like well-to-do. I don't know if she had a title at the time, like being a kid. She wasn't like a princess or anything because it was New Orleans, but she was, well-to-do family. She was born Marie Delphine McCarty, and she obviously grew up, so I'm saying during the beginning of her life, during her adult years or whatever, she was married twice, and she outlived both of her husbands. I didn't see how they died. Like literally the second one it just talked about must have been a pretty quick marriage, because it literally said like she was married and she died, and he died. That was that. But she outlived both of her husbands before her third marriage. And her third marriage was to a younger man. He was a really well-known physician around the area at the time. He was named Leonard Louis Nicholas LaLaurie. So that's where her famous married name came from. And they were married on June 25th of 1825. So during this marriage, that's when she had acquired a piece of property in New Orleans. And over the next few years, I think it was, a mansion was built. So it was built from scratch. It wasn't like they went and bought a mansion. This was like all new bones, new everything, new space for them to commit all these horrible, horrifying things that are to come. Well, her anyway. I believe her and her husband were actually separated for a time. Now, when the dramatic conclusion of her time in New Orleans hits, he apparently was present for that. So he was like still around, but whether or not they were actually together, I couldn't find anything, because they were at one point separated. Like she had petitioned, there was like old documents and stuff where she had petitioned essentially like a divorce. Like she basically said he made living with him unbearable, and essentially divorce. Which I don't know if like divorce the way we know it now actually happened then, but they were definitely separated. So during this marriage is when her property and her mansion was built. The property or the mansion was complete with an attached slave quarters to it. So she obviously had owned slaves, had planned on continuing to own them. Probably at the time, nothing out of the norm, I should say. But that part, anyway, it obviously gets much worse, or we wouldn't be here now talking. Her slaves were reported, even from the beginning, her slaves were reported to look haggard and wretched, was a quote by several of her neighbors or people who have seen her. They were obviously not... I hate making them sound like pets. I hate that, because these were people who should never have been enslaved to begin with, right? But historically, they were essentially worker pets. I mean, there were laws of the way they needed to be cared for, and which that's great. I mean, at least things were set progressing forward. Things were with their care in mind, and not just awful. Like obviously, people like Madame LaLaurie here would have been fine with no laws and about their care or anything, which is, the slavery itself was awful enough, but to think that somebody would value life of another person so little that they don't want any set laws of how they should be cared for. And, it'd be like, it was awful, awful, but thankfully there were at that time laws in place, and she was just not, like the rumors basically of how they were looking and everything, she was obviously not abiding by those rules, like from the start. So if the marriage started in 1825, the house took a few years to complete to begin with. So we're talking like 1827, 1828 by the time the house was completed. By 1830, actually between, I should say, 1830 and 1834, so just over a 4-year span, records that dated back to that time had showed that there were at least 12 reported slave deaths from the LaLaurie mansion. So already the slaves that she was, you know, and charged with taking care of, that she owned, I hate talking like that. I do. But, I mean, that was the terminology of the time, right? Doesn't make it good, but I'm just trying to stick with what we know, you know? It's just awful. Like, I wanted to present the story, but I'm getting so wrapped up in, like, it just makes me so mad to really think about, which I'm sure everyone has that, you know. Oh, it's awful. Anyway, I'm getting back sidetracked again. But 12 deaths already, like in the span of 4 years, from her slaves. And because of that, rumors were starting to spread about her cruelty to them. Like, you know, I'm sure people would be like, oh yeah, I saw so-and-so and he looked just awful. Like, she was sending him to the market or like whatever. But then people would talk about how awful they looked, how it looked like they were being mistreated, that like they weren't being fed well, like they just mistreated on every possible level. The rumors had gotten so bad that a local lawyer was actually dispatched to her home to kind of do like a welfare check-in, right? They came to check in. They specifically came, like, it was noted that they came to remind her of the care laws at the time, and it was upkeep and care of slaves was the way it was put, the laws. And at the time of the visit, the lawyer had not suspected anything, as far as like cruelty and mistreatment. Like, the slaves that were present that they did see seemed to be in good care, which I'm sure, after light of what had happened came to, they were probably like, it was probably kind of like that, you know, oh, so-and-so is coming to check up on us. You guys go hide. You guys, you look good. Come up here. You know, awful to know that people are so mistreated that you need to hide them away like that in itself. It's like, she knew even then. But at the time, nothing as far as the lawyer could tell was suspect worthy. Directly after the visit, directly after it, the neighbors from the mansion, the neighbors of the mansion or whatever, reported seeing one of her slave girls fall to her death from the roof of the mansion. So, like, I don't know if she felt like she was kind of like in the clear, like, oh, they've came to check on me, kind of like, now we're going to do whatever we want. But she anyway fell to her death from the roof of the mansion, and the body of the girl was reportedly, like, basically disposed of on the property. That was collected and burned right there, and that was just it. Like, there was that rumors were left from it and talk, but no proof, no nothing, right? So, but because the rumors were so bad, this did lead to a second investigation of the property and of Madame LaLaurie. She wasn't able to hide everything this time, and she was brought to trial, and she was found guilty of cruelty, and she was forced to give up 9 slaves, which I don't know if those were the only slaves they knew about or why the number 9 was picked. Maybe there was 9 that looked worse than the others. I'm not really sure. But in the end, it didn't matter, because basically they took the slaves away. They re-enslaved them, and then sneaky, underhanded things happened, and they were enslaved again and sold. And the person they were sold to was a close relative of Madame LaLaurie. So they basically bought them back and gave them back to her. Could you imagine the horror of thinking that you are finally free of this woman, and you realize you're being taken back to this mansion where you've just come from being so mistreated? Oh, it makes me so mad. But they were returned to her, and then more rumors started to fly about her mistreatment of the slaves, including some people said that she kept her cook chained to the stove at all times. And that there were even rumors that she beat her daughter, like her actual daughters, for trying to give them other food and water and basically take care of them and, you know, be kind of human beings. They were beaten for that. So she just basically continued this mistreatment of them. Because, I mean, I'm sure now she thinks I'm unstoppable. Like, okay, they're going to come and they're going to find me guilty and they're going to say I can't have slaves. That's a punishment because guess what? Uncle John is just going to buy them right back for me or whatever. You know, I don't know what relative it was, but I'm just saying, you know, somebody's going to return them is basically it. So she could keep this cycle going. So in April of 1834, on April 10th, actually, a fire broke out at the mansion. People obviously came and tried to put it out, responded to it, and they found that the rumors were true as far as the cook goes, because the cook, who was, by the way, a 70-year-old woman, was chained to the kitchen stove when they got there. Like, the fire was put out, she was safe. I said, probably not in great shape because she was chained to an iron stove that was around fire. But the woman basically made a confession and she said she set the fire. She had set the fire because she was basically trying to commit suicide and there was no other way, no other option for her because she was chained to this giant stove. But she was trying to commit suicide because she was terrified. She was terrified that she was about to be punished. And she said any of the slaves that were taken to the topmost room of the mansion never came back. Like, they were taken up for punishment and then nobody ever saw them again. So, like, obviously that's what they were thinking. That's what they were thinking. So they wanted to, you know, the people that were there responding wanted to go investigate the uppermost rooms, even though there was no reported damage of fire, I don't think, at the time. But they said, well, let's go take a look around. And she refused, Madame LaLaurie refused to give up the keys to the doors that led up the stairs and were upstairs and everything. She refused. So right there, something tells you something's not right with this woman. Something's going on. But since she wouldn't give up her keys, bystanders that were there were tired of her crap, I'm sure. And they all joined together and broke down the doors. So they got in. And what they found was basically a scene of nightmares. And it was actually a horror scene because there has been documentaries and movies made about this very topic. So it was awful. What they found, once the doors were broken down, were slaves, obviously. They were found in just various horrific positions and in different states of torture that were all awful. I'm not going to get into everything that was reportedly found there. Like, not anything specific. Some were mutilated. They had awful things have happened to these people. Some had there was one woman who had an injury to her head that was so bad that she couldn't, like, it. The description makes it sound like basically she had, like, awful brain damage and she was just left there like that. It was disgusting. Some of them were held and suspended by their necks or by various limbs and just left there like that. This was like the top things that I could mention, but there was other far worse things that were supposedly done. All of them showed signs of being severely emaciated, like undernutrition, skeletal, just in the worst way possible. They had been whipped so bad that they looked like they had been flayed, basically. They were all bound in one way or another in various, just absolutely, I'm sure, uncomfortable positions, to put it lightly. And when the severely mistreated slaves were discovered, onlookers were so mortified and enraged and upset that basically they formed a mob right then and there. They started attacking. They tried to attack Madame LaLaurie. They attacked her property. They burned her property, I think. They definitely broke it down more. There was a lot of like damage and carnage happening there, not only from the original fire, but from the mob that started. And that at that time, people believed that during all the chaos, Madame LaLaurie actually ended up escaping. She fled New Orleans, and then she still had money, right? It's not like today where she could email a friend or text a friend and have them like wire money. Well, actually, did they have wiring back then? Not the way we have it, I'm sure, but like anyway, she was able to have some funds put away for an escape in some manner, because she ended up taking, like, they described how she took from New Orleans, she took a carriage, and then she took a schooner, which is a small like boat. And she eventually ended up at a port where she escaped to Paris, and she lived her life, as far as we know, in exile in Paris. There were some rumors that she had eventually returned to the States, but I believe somebody said that they did find a gravestone that had her name on it. So, like, yes, there could have been other people of the same name, but it's pretty much believed that she ended up living her days out in Paris, exiled from America. Which, good. You don't deserve the comforts of home, in my opinion. No. I hope that she lived her life in absolute just misery. Eventually, the land was even like raised, dug up, whatever, and more bodies were found that had been concealed there, including the remains of a smaller, like a younger girl, who was probably the girl that they were talking about having fell to her death. So most of the rumors definitely seem to have been true in some form or another. The mansion did not survive this. It was eventually just torn down. But it stayed in disrepair for years, and then it was rebuilt into the building that still stands there today. An interesting fact, for those of you who know that I have been to New Orleans before, because my now ex-husband was stationed down there, we went to the French Quarter, of course, you have to do that. We went to the French Quarter, which is actually where this is. I, at the time, didn't know anything about this awfulness of history, but I recognize the picture and the way, because I fell in love with everything there, like the metal, the wrought iron, like fencing and gates, and just the decoration of everything. And obviously, like, there's the feeling and the mystery, and there's much more to New Orleans than this story. I absolutely love it there. I want to go back so badly. I was fortunate enough to go there over Halloween, so I got to see the Halloween Mardi Gras. I completely digress. Anyway, the interesting fact was that specifically, I remember we were eating at like this, it wasn't really a cafe, but they served you outside. Like, it was a smaller place, and they served you outside. There were like awnings. I wish I could remember the name of the place. I remember that there was an awful lot of like seafood on the menu because I can't eat that. I don't actually remember what I did eat from there. I know my now ex-husband had like fish or something, like fried fish, but not the point either. The building that we were looking at, and that I was so like in love with some of the like metal work that was her mansion. That was the rebuilt mansion, and I never knew it. It was rebuilt, though, like I said, after like at least 4 years. And then at one time, like it passed ownership over time. At one time, it was owned by the actor Nicolas Cage, if you're familiar with him. He did have some like bankruptcy problems, and the property ended up being foreclosed on. In 2010, it was bought by the current owner, or at least the current owner of the article that I was reading, Michael Whalen. And it was purchased at the time in 2010 for $2.1 million. So over the years, it has been apartment buildings. It has been a furniture store. It was, I think they said, a nightclub at some point. I believe now it is just restored to a mansion. And I think, you can take tours there, which I wish I had known that when I was there, if that was a thing at the time. Because I would love to have seen, like, I don't like this story, but I would love to see the historical place. Do you know what I mean? Because I'm kind of macabre like that, I guess. That's me. But I do find it all interesting. I hope that we have all learned from this. But yeah, I wish I could have gone into further detail about the mistreatment, but I didn't want to upset anybody, like more than this story itself actually would upset somebody, but I didn't want to upset somebody with the details. But it was definitely like a creepy, horrible, awful thing. And yeah, that is the story of Madame LaLaurie. So, have you guys heard of her? She has been in pop culture because she was actually a character on American Horror Story in more than one season, I believe. Like, she was featured in one major season, but I think she might have been in another season, at least like a little bit. She was a character that was played by Kathy Bates, actually. So like, her character itself was so great. Like, Kathy Bates, I feel like everything she does is just golden. She's just one of those people. But yeah, anyway, I am going to say goodbye because I'm sure this video has gone on quite long enough. But hopefully you enjoyed it. Again, thank you to everybody who is subscribed and is awesome. And yeah, I do have a small Amazon haul that has some Yarny related stuff in it. So I'm going to do a different video for that and show you guys some of the stuff I have acquired since realizing the greatness that is Amazon. And yeah, I will talk to you very soon, guys. I love you. Bye.